guess we were just kind of on that same topic. I was going to kind of kick it over to talking a little bit about conventions, since we just brought it up. A lot of people out there hear about this hobby through hearing about conventions, and there's definitely a convention mentality, a collector mentality around comic books and a lot of other things. So I think there's a pretty wide exposure to the idea of going somewhere, seeing your people, hanging out, being able to buy stuff, all that kind of stuff that goes on at conventions. And conventions vary widely in terms of scope and size. Gen Con for our industry is certainly the biggest, right? Origins is how big is Origins?
I don't know. Somebody on the stream now. It's 40, pretty big. It's
40,000 people.
40. I would guess 30 to 40.
I remember when Gen Con and Origins were pretty much the same size, and they were just they both covered one half of the year, that kind of thing. So anyway, let's just talk a little bit about Matt, you own a convention. What is
18,000 last year?
Oh, 18, really?
18,000. 18.6.
I think that
Gen Con has way outpaced them.
Yeah, a while back, they joined up for 3 or 4 years, right? They did Gen Con Origins back in the early 90s, I want to say. And maybe that was because they were trying to build basically what Gen Con has finally turned into, which is too big for Indianapolis. Anybody from Indianapolis listen to me?
I'm told I have a number of hobby store owning friends that go to Origins, and to them, it is an amazing convention. They get tons and tons of industry news. They get to go, they get to game, have fun. It doesn't suffer from the same level of ridiculous size that Gen Con does these days.
Yeah, I should have given Jimmy a graphic from this year's 10 o'clock whistle Thursday morning to get into the Great Hall. Oh my God, it wasn't mayhem. Everybody actually was very nice, but mayhem in the sense of, damn, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, they're showing 60,000 at Gen Con. And I'm assuming that's
which was I think their sold out number. Yeah.
No, their sold out number last year was 72.
I was going to say this date's off, so it's 2016. So I was going to say take the number up a little. So 70 sounds right.
Yeah. And they think 80 this year because they're going to get more space, but I don't know how many more hotels. So anyway, all those people who are watching are now saying, what are these guys even talking about? So let's back it up, back the truck up.
That will not be a new thing.
That will not be a new thing or something we're going to fix.
I get those blank stares every time I talk to anybody, so it's fine. I'm used to it.
Exactly. So a gaming convention is a huge gathering of industry people and gamers getting together to play games that they may not necessarily get to play other places. They're following a particular GM or a particular series. They want to get the latest thing, and they just want to meet the people that they've met through gaming, again, that they maybe only see at these shows, right?
It's an adult sleepover.
It's an adult sleepover, which brings us to rule number 1. Early secure your living accommodations. When you're at a convention, one of the things that is not provided in the ticket is any place to stay or sleep or anything like that. So you got to take care of that stuff early, because these shows get announced, maybe like Gen Con being the biggest one, they get announced in August. You have to have your hotel by January 12th.
Be like Matt and get
every
B&B.
venue is different. You have some smaller shows in decent sized cities where there's plenty of accommodations nearby, all the way up to Gen Con, where you have to play the Hunger Games in order to get a hotel.
And I play that game every year, and he is not wrong. My wife actually plays that game because she's way more savage than I am. So in a lot of these places too, you'll either be staying so close to the convention. If it's a smaller convention, they'll have a hotel nearby, or you're going to be in the middle of a big city and you're going to have the ability to get on public transportation and things like that. So actually getting around at conventions isn't typically too bad.
Right.
But then what to expect, what are you going to do at a convention? Like, let's just go down the horn here. Brian, why don't you start it off? We'll go right down. What do you, when you
do at conventions?
Aside from work, if you're going for pleasure, what is it that you're going there to do? What do you want to do while you're there?
For me,
I'm anxious to hear this answer because I still haven't quite figured it out.
I haven't either. I'm honestly asking.
So for me, a lot of it is getting to test out certain games that I've always wanted to play and not had the time to play. And I'm sure that's the same for many, many people. Like, okay, I'm going to go to a convention and, oh my God, someone is running Rob Schwalb's Shadow of the Demon Lord. Okay. It sure sounds cool. It looks amazing, but none of my friends own it. No one I know is playing it. So here's that perfect opportunity to test it out. Then you say, oh my gosh, it was just everything that I wanted. And even better if you can get Rob Schwalb to run it. But, now you've actually kind of taken that game for a test drive, and you might decide to purchase it, run it for your home games. So
yeah, I think that's a big reason to experiment with things.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Jimmy?
Devil Dog brings up a good point. So a week's worth of everything that you just said, a week's worth of it. Maybe not for this particular conversation, but conventions have been getting longer, way longer. Like GaryCon, people were showing up on Tuesday with the official, so people showing up on Tuesday, the unofficial stuff starting on Wednesday, and then the actual convention Thursday through Sunday.
Well,
they've really been getting.
This is a perfect segue to VIGs. So let's just talk about VIGs. Very important guests are something that happens at almost all conventions now. Yeah. And if you're just a run-of-the-mill person who's signing up for games a week after official registration starts, you're going to be maybe a little irritated that a lot of slots are already filled. And you'll wonder, how could that be? It's only been out for a week or the day of. So,
oh my God. Yeah.
But it's a trend now. Every show has them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They pay more up front, and they are guaranteed certain things and given opportunities for certain things that the general public's not available for.
And it's a good thing, to be honest, because
it is.
I'm sure Matt will attest to this. Running a convention is very expensive. It's very hard. And often they're just barely breaking even if they're lucky to do so. And they genuinely have the passion. They want to bring the games to the players. They're doing it for you. So the fact that you might pay a little bit more but be guaranteed to get into those games that you love, totally worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that also goes back to the argument that a lot of people make about paying for GMs, right? In a broader sense, like this hobby is free and we shouldn't have to pay nothing and we'll download the PDFs. There's that type of person on one end of the spectrum. And then on the other end of the spectrum, there's the people that are like, I will pay $500 for Beetle and Grimm's Waterdeep Heist because some cool things that people made need to be supported. You're going to throw a convention.
Yeah.
I got $500. I'll toss you $500 if you say that I'll get some nice parking, maybe throw a couple meals in. I'll get to meet all the guests of honor, whatever. I want to spend the money, but then you're going to have that hardcore on the other side that's just like, oh yeah, only rich people get to do the cool stuff. It's tough. It's tough. But I agree with Brian. It's absolutely essential because if people, as a business person, if people open up their wallet and want to put it in your hand, you don't come up with excuses to say no.
Right.
You say, okay, well, if they're going to give me that, what should I do for them? And then you it's like having a patron in Patreon, right?
Mm-hmm.
That $500 a month person that everybody's fishing for. If you get that person, you're not going to turn them down.
And, I think it's important to note too, that this is also like a family reunion. So you've got all the people who you love seeing who share your love for the game, the hobby, and you maybe only see them once a year at some of your favorite conventions. So again, I joke that it's an adult sleepover, but it kind of is. Family reunion and adult sleepover all wrapped up in one.
I think those 2 points are exactly 100% on point.
Yeah, but I
did want to just point out that our Patreon, our one, speaking of which, our one Patreon
she's right there.
Patron is here. She's here, Anna. Thank you very much.
Hi, Anna.
Anna, you believed in us from the beginning. From session 0, I knew that we were going to go.
She was at session -1.
Session -1. That's right. That's right. You were there for the extremely clunky. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's still extremely clunky, but you've been with us the whole time. Thank you.
So clunky we can't even show it
cold.
Anymore.
She was cold and just wanted to warm her hands by this dumpster fire.
That's right. That's right. Right. That's when she saw the 4 of us huddled there, and she's like, well, they're not too stinky. So we go to the convention.
Oh, great segue.
What are we gonna, when we sign up for an event, what does that mean? I know that as someone who's been stood up for my events, I know what it means to me on occasion. But like, what does it mean? I'm going to sign up for events. Let's start with KC this time.
I think it can't signing up for an event can't be taken too lightly. I mean, by the player or the GM. We had several. Just speaking from my experience this year, we had several game masters that no-showed. Several, I say that it's like 3, so I guess that counts as several. But 3 out of the 500, 400 games we had, so it wasn't too bad. Not like a poor representation, but those players were seriously disappointed. They'd come up to the front desk, and in one particular case, 6 players walk up to the front, and they're like, "Hey, our GM didn't show," and that kind of ruins their whole. Like they had a 4-hour block that was dedicated to that particular game, and now they'd be with. I ran around and hustled, tried to find them another game, ended up getting them all able to sit down somewhere else. But yeah, I mean, it is a commitment, and that's the same thing on the player's side. When you have a game master who's gone the extra mile to make sure that this experience for them at the convention is going to be an awesome time for the next 4 hours, and you're like, yeah, I had my lunch is running long, I'm not going to show up or whatever, I can't make it that day, and you don't cancel your ticket so we know that there's an empty spot. I mean, it affects other people's experiences as well. So yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. It's a big deal in the convention sense. It is a commitment. I think people shouldn't take too lightly. How about that?
Yeah, I fully agree. What about you, Brian?
This is interesting, and I guess I've never really thought about it until now. But there's a certain percentage of pantsers who don't sign up for games, who know that they want to go to the convention, they want to have fun, but they're not planners. They haven't scoured the internet to see what games are being run. They want to show up, they want to play some games. However, the more popular your convention becomes, the greater the attendance, especially if there's limited numbers of GMs. Suddenly, what was that, Matt?
Invisible
sorry, it's my invisible bottle. I keep drinking. I keep catching myself because I'm.
Okay.
Every time I take a drink, my face disappears.
Whoa.
That's a potion he's drinking.
Yes, of invisibility, clearly.
Magic.
Yes. But what if conventions had a certain percentage of slots that were just open, you couldn't reserve them, and you just had to show up and jump in? Is that too crazy? Am I on correct?
No, I don't think it's crazy at all. If I can add, I don't think that it's a crazy idea if you have 1 or 2 seats that are going to be dedicated. And that's for the game masters that can handle a 6 or an 8-person table. For instance, at KoboldCon this year, in Colorado Springs, koboldcon.com.
It's where it is.
Was that too obvious?
No,
at KoboldCon this year, so we had 4. There were a lot of GMs that only wanted to run a 4-person table or a 5-person table. So it's really difficult to say 3 of those can be assigned beforehand. We're going to leave 1 or 2 to 1 or 2 for open gaming.
Yeah, I thought too, as you were telling that story, I was thinking of like a GM's Corral, where it would be up by registration. And when these people come out and complain about a game, you just wait until you get 5 or 6 of them all gathered there. And you say, would all you be willing to play this? And you just grab a GM out of the corral where we keep them with the hay and the beer. And they run
everything.
They run a game.
Yeah.
Jimmy'd be perfect for that. We just say, Jimmy,
Just get a stable of game masters like Jimmy.
Deadlands game with this and that. And
Well, I can throw that in at the Fan Expo that we're running, helping out Monkey Mind Tabletop group here in Dallas. They are running games now. It's mainly a Fan Expo, and so it's meeting all the famous people they bring in, but they've started getting the game, and so they've put 2 GMs sitting at a table, and people will walk in, and there'll be, you want to play a game? Come on over here and start the game up. And these people are, we didn't even know this was going on. And that's constantly going on. And those tables were more exciting to watch than the regular people that were playing, and that were the AL, all the AL stuff. Right. I'm not bashing AL, but the newbies coming in there saying, we've heard about it, we want to play. So,
right.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. You have it from a stable of game masters up front that are ready to roll at each particular session. And I think that's easy. That part is easily doable. versus
So-
trying to save or reserve a couple of generic seats.
So you could have both VIG reserve for very important people. They get the extra time and all that effort. You get regular reserve, and then you get unreservable.
Hmm.
They can't be reserved. These are the announcements of the game. Come
Ooh,
one,
yeah.
come all, you show up. And so
Right.
the reason I'm
Mhm.
thinking of this is we were camping this weekend. The site we got wasn't the one we wanted, but when we got there, the rain had made people change their plans. And suddenly
Mhm.
there were all these sites that were available. And so I said, well, pick one of the sites that nobody showed up for. And Susan goes, no, I'm just going to get one of the unreservable sites. They cherry pick the nicest ones. And actually, there might even be some wisdom in making a few of those unreservable ones VIG level.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
you got VIG for the money people, and you got VIG for the breads and circuses crowd.
Because the people who show up just at the very last minute, you don't want them to have a poor experience. You want them to be like, oh my gosh, I could still get into this amazing thing. I had a
Right.
great time, even though I was flying by the seat of my pants. I think we're onto something.
Yeah. My horror
That's
story
genius.
from
I
that.
like that a lot, especially for
Sure.
VIGs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the reverse VIG, Matt, make a note.
Reverse
you heard it
VIG.
here,
Got
you
it.
heard it here first. And then I was just going to say the example that I had last year from Gamehole Con, we'd never run events there before. Gen Con, we've got a pretty mortal lock on running Cthulhu games. People know us. They want to run. They want to play in our games. It's not because we're the best, just people know us, So we go to Gamehole Con and we register, and it looks like everybody's going to show up. And we buy props, reverse VIG. We buy props. We had cowboy hats for people, bandanas. We had prop pistols. It
That's
was a
outstanding.
Western Cthulhu game. We spent money. We bought booze to keep in a cooler for the 21 and ups.
Oh,
all
now
this-
I'm in.
Yeah, I knew. I was running down my list, just waiting for your eyebrow to raise.
Mhm.
Cowboy hat, nothing. Bandana, nothing. Prop gun, nothing. Booze.
I'll
You
take all
had
of
me
the
in
above.
booze.
You had me at drunk. So, so
On that note,
this guy walked in, and he walks in the room like this, and he goes, he signed up for our game, not interested, and walked out.
Oh,
Really?
wow.
Like, to my face. I mean, he didn't know I was the GM, but I was just like, wow.
Don't let
Like
the door
that
knob
is
hit you in the
that
backside.
epitomizes like bad convention etiquette. If
So
you're not going to show up for a game, be far away from it.
can I bring up a different topic?
Yeah.
I actually wanted to talk today a little bit about why some gamers are so passionate about their thing and cannot see beyond that and hate everything that's not what they love. I'm guilty of it sometimes.
Yes.
Are you asking a question about people that come up and tell you about their character? Is that what?
Oh, fuck me. No, I'm not. I don't even want to broach that subject.
If anybody is watching this, Brian Berg loves hearing about your character at his booth. So if you see
Hello,
TBK, at any
hello, my name is
particular
Brian. Tell me about your character. Is a
Mhm.
T-shirt that we're having made for him.
I do think
This
that
is the
there
hashtag.
needs to be some T-shirts involved. But if you bring me a beer, it makes the whole process so much easier.
So
That's too
basically,
long of a
what you're
hashtag
talking
to write
about-
out. I'm not
I
going to do
agree.
that.
Yeah.
Basically, what you're
Tell me
talking
about your
about
character.
is siloing, right? I mean, you get
Well,
into a
addition
silo.
rules, why can't you just be happy that someone else is playing in your hobby
Yeah, I don't
instead of
understand at all.
hating
Yeah.
what you don't love?
I suspect that just short answer, for me anyway, I suspect you can stop that question at why can't you just be happy?
Yeah.
There are people for whom
You're a dick.
happiness is a niche, and there's people for whom happiness is expansive.
Mhm.
I want more different, beautiful weirdos around me all the time. I want to
Yeah.
talk about gaming. I want to play more games. I want to run more games. I want to read more books about games and about woodworking and motorcycles and Formula One. And I mean, the list goes on. But there are people for whom that is just not true. And they fall in love with something and they can never fall in love again, maybe. I don't know. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I think you have this misconception, and Jen talked about it already. You have this misconception of what right looks like,
Mhm.
and people are just completely unwilling. There is a class of gamer that is completely unwilling to look outside that box, and I mean it is ridiculous. Some of the best times that I've ever had, particularly at conventions, to kind of segue that or bring that back on topic.
I think it all flows into each other.
Yeah. So, I mean, some of the best times I've had in gaming have been at games that I don't, or in areas that I'm not familiar with, when I'm learning something new, like, what's the Thieves World game? Sanctuary. Like when I'm learning, play Sanctuary, I never would have ever picked that game up, ended up buying it.
Right.
Never even would have looked at it twice had I not played it at a convention.